Edan Yago, contributor at DeFi protocol Sovryn, joins us now to discuss developments in El Salvador.
Hi,
Hey, Edan.
Michael.
Good to see you again.
Good to chat again.
It's been a long time.
Nice to chat again. Yeah.
So, listen, you've actually, you've been interested in Bitcoin since some time, since you and I have been talking about this thing for a number of years now, and I know you're a big supporter of what's happening in El Salvador. But there are concerns that people will be forced to hold something they don't want. How confident are you that this won't resolve in something that's a challenge for Salvadorans, that they will come to accept this as something valuable and not feel as if it's something thrust upon them?
Well, as a Bitcoiner, I don't place my trust in governments, even governments that accept Bitcoin. And so I can't say with any certainty how the government of El Salvador or any other will treat with this in the future. But isn't a currency that they control. And that's the phenomenal thing about El Salvador choosing to move on to a Bitcoin standard. The incentives aren't there for the country to try and force people to do anything. And so I think that's the really big innovation here, and the courageous step that they've taken is bringing to the country a sound money, which is not going to be corrupted by the incentives of this or future governments.
Okay, so your argument is that regardless of, say, Article 7, which some people have been critical as saying that it ultimately requires people to accept it if it's given to them, that the incentive misalignment is the thing that is different. That they're not. There's no interest in them. But I'm also interested in the idea of this, the geothermal plant that, for example, the government owns that will be working. It's called the Volcano Money Project, I suppose some people are calling it, where they would mine Bitcoin. It seems to me that there is potentially some conflict there in the sense that the government could be, essentially being the biggest holder of Bitcoin and be interested in it from that perspective, but obviously not controlling Bitcoin, as you put it. How do you, are there ways in which, let me put it this way, the mining of Bitcoin might not be so centralized in the country other than through this one plant?
I mean, it's very possible. So this hasn't happened in El Salvador, but Paraguay have a law that is being sort of shopped around, where the government is seeking to take control over mining. And similar things have happened in Iran and in Venezuela. So mining of Bitcoin is valuable, and sometimes corrupt governments will seek to try and gain a monopoly over that. It's hard. But it's possible. The thing is that even a government which gains a monopoly within its own borders by coercing its own people has no impact on the coercive ability of Bitcoin elsewhere.
Absolutely. Now, with regards, though, to the volatility concerns, right, that people feel, again, they're not being compelled. There has obviously been some focus on trying to find an easy way for people to convert to the currency that they're much more familiar with, which is the US dollar. How do you know how this $150 million trust is going to work, for example? Are you confident that that will help ease through those exchange challenges?
Yeah, so first of all, with regards to the protests that have occurred today, people are always scared of change. And so I think what we should have expected, which we did expect, and what we're seeing is the opposition latching onto that fear in an attempt to try and curry favor, because it's the easiest thing to latch onto. And it is really remarkable that whenever a country or a leader is able to move beyond that fear and have a vision. And so President Bukele and what he's done and what El Salvador are doing is truly remarkable, because they've managed to overcome that sort of innate human knee-jerk fear and think about how they can construct a better future and do things differently. Because if you keep doing things the same way, you're not going to end up in a different place. Now, with regards to the $150 million fund, I think the $150 million fund is only a start. There's going to be a need for vastly more. There are billions of dollars in commerce and remittance that go to even a small country like El Salvador. And so El Salvador is looking to introduce additional players. There are conversations with Bitcoin companies and Bitcoin protocols like I've been contributing to Sovryn. We've been engaged. There's an effort there to encourage the entire Bitcoin community to participate and help deal with the frictions that are involved in doing such a new thing. And I think it's up to us as the Bitcoin community to show the same courage and foresight as the country of El Salvador.
So tell me a little bit what Sovryn is doing down there then, given that you are engaged down there. What have you been up to?
Right. So I can't speak to specifics, but Sovryn is a protocol designed to allow for decentralized financial and economic tools, what some people would call DeFi, specifically with Bitcoin. In other words, it's Bitcoin native. And so one of the key things that is of interest is the ability to borrow and lend, so that people in El Salvador will be able to use their Bitcoin assets as collateral in the same way that people on Ethereum are using ETH as collateral. And then an even more thing is Bitcoin-backed stablecoins. So the reason the $150 million fund exists is because Bitcoin, in relation to fiat currencies, is volatile. And so there needs to be a way for regular people to have access to something which is not volatile, and Bitcoin-backed stablecoins fit the bill perfectly for El Salvador, a country which marries Bitcoin and dollars just like Bitcoin-backed stablecoins do.
Okay. One last question, just looking at the criticisms that have come from, probably not all that surprisingly, the IMF, the World Bank and others, and President Bukele having something of a reputation in those official circles of being authoritarian, let's say. How do you feel about all that? I mean, is this what is the impact of El Salvador's prospects with this initiative look like with if the international community is not supportive?
I think we should all be in awe. Simply, I'm dumbstruck by the fact that El Salvador has continued the course despite a visit from the IMF, despite a visit from the World Bank, and seems determined to continue along its way. And that has given me a great deal of confidence, because I think what they are proving is true leadership, right? The ability for a country like El Salvador to ever find something where they have enough leverage that they can become a world leader is vanishingly rare. And the fact that they've managed to grasp this opportunity, I think, is a risk from the perspective of their reputation. But their reputation is the thing which stands least to suffer. And the upside for them is an asymmetrical bet, just like the rest of Bitcoin.